He's almost 60 years old. He's Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old. And he knew that Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. So you knew what you were going to get.
Dana White slammed the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight, dismissing it as classic Showtime boxing and a recipe for disaster. He criticized the mismatch, calling it a disgrace to see a legendary fighter take on a YouTuber with poor technique, who risks injuring himself with every punch. White sees the bout as a blow to the sport's credibility.
Beat off Jake Paul. But how? Mike Tyson's an absolute legend and one of the greatest fighters of all time. How can this YouTuber beat such a great fighter? Well, X has...
It gets even worse when you realize the whole fight feels scripted. Are we really pretending this is legitimate boxing? Or are we just here for the next episode of Who's Faking It Better? It's turning the sport into a joke.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight wasn't just a boxing match, it was a media spectacle that sparked controversy long after the final bell. The chaos began even before the fight, fueled by a leaked script that left fans questioning its authenticity and turned the event into a storm of speculation.
X has spoken. The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked on X a few days.
Yes, you heard that right. A script. A document leaked on X just a day before the fight, detailing every moment as if choreographed. It didn't just hint at outcomes, it outlined the punches, moves, and even a supposed fifth-round knockout by Tyson. Are we now watching fights as if they're soap operas? The sport's authenticity feels like it's on the ropes.
Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, which actually happened. As soon as the bell went, Mike Tyson came out with that head movement pushing forward. Immediately he stalks forward with his signature bob and weave style.
Tyson's opening bob and weave mirrored the script perfectly, and Jake Paul's footwork matched its predictions almost move for move. Initially dismissed as coincidence, the fight's progression made it harder to ignore the eerie alignment with the leaked document. As each scripted detail played out, the notion of a pre-planned performance started feeling less like a conspiracy theory and more like a disturbing reality.
And it was a bit of a shit show, but, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy fuck, I'm about to see the greatest live sport.
Then came Dana White, and you could almost see the steam coming out of his ears. The UFC boss didn't hold back, tearing into the event with brutal honesty. He called it a circus act, not a fight, labeling it an insult to real athletes and a disgrace to the sport of boxing. For White, it was a slap in the face to everything boxing stands for.
So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds...
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
Making a living at it. I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody. Mike's 58 years old. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right. I hate doing this because Mike gets mad at me every time.
But wait, there's more. Dana White's frustration wasn't just about the chaos in the ring, it was about the bigger picture. Jake Paul, an influencer-turned-fighter, consistently pulls in millions of viewers for his bouts, while UFC champions often struggle to attract the same media attention. It doesn't take a genius to see why White might be fuming. Exhibition boxing, and Jake Paul in particular, have stolen the spotlight, overshadowing fighters who've dedicated their lives to the sport. White's critique went beyond this single fight. It was a warning about the direction combat sports might take if this trend continues. And honestly, I get where he's coming from. What's the point of grinding through a fighting career, honing skills for years, when a YouTuber can swoop in and outshine you? This shortcut feels like an insult to the sport.
Oh, Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just...
Like scripted in what way?
No, I don't know. I actually really like...
As if this spectacle wasn't chaotic enough, let's question the fight itself. Was it staged? Was Tyson aware of it?
Paul, you're right, Roy. He's turning into a boxer.
Yep. Oh, good shot.
Oh, and again the left hook.
Good shot by Mike.
Referee Mark Malloy warning.
Add in the strange behavior of the referees, who seemed overly involved in every exchange, along with a noticeable lack of urgency from both fighters to finish the bout decisively. And you've got a recipe for controversy. For some, these were clear red flags that something was off. For others, they were just awkward moments in an already bizarre matchup. But the lingering question remained: was this all part of a larger performance?
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time. I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people expect.
White's words cut through the noise, making it clear that, in his view, this wasn't a fight, it was theater. His comments highlighted a bigger issue: the rising trend of prioritizing viral moments over the integrity of sports. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is certain: White's fiery critique has added another layer of drama to an already controversial event, amplifying the ongoing debate about the future of combat sports.
Tyson's just been beat off Jake Paul. But how? Mike Tyson's an absolute legend and one of the greatest fighters of all time. How can this YouTuber beat such a...
The script's depiction of round one mirrored what actually unfolded in the ring. Tyson entered with his signature bob and weave style, charging forward and forcing Jake to stay on the move. Paul, younger and more agile, used his footwork to maintain distance, landing a few light jabs to take control. This scenario played out exactly as described in the script, leading many fans to believe it was more than coincidence. However, some argue that anyone could predict how the first round would go. Tyson's age and declining performance explained the fight's pace better than any scripted narrative. Yet, no matter how you spin it, something about this Showtime fight just didn't feel right.
This is what Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money, Jake Paul is, I don't have to tell you guys, you guys know, Mike Tyson is the A+++ side of.
During the fight, Jake Paul fought strategically, keeping his distance, avoiding risky exchanges, and relying on his youth and stamina. While a decisive knockout would have made a bold statement, surviving 8 rounds and winning on points was enough to claim victory over boxing legend Mike Tyson. The narrative practically wrote itself. Jake Paul, the underdog influencer, defeats the great Tyson in a stunning upset.
What do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
As always, Dana White didn't hold back in his criticism of Jake Paul. A longtime opponent of influencer boxing, White believes it undermines the authenticity of combat sports. He's accused Paul of cherry-picking opponents and prioritizing showmanship over true athletic skill and competition.
If he wants to do boxing, why not fight guys that actually box for a living?
100%. Fight guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo.
To Dana White, this fight was just another example of how boxing has strayed from its roots. Jake Paul's rise, driven by social media clout and controversy, has long been a thorn in White's side. The Tyson fight only added fuel to the fire, giving White another reason to dismiss Paul as a fraudulent fighter. The real elephant in the room, however, was money. Mike Tyson reportedly walked away with a staggering $20 million for a single night's work, highlighting the lucrative spectacle behind the event rather than any real athletic merit.
Think Mike Tyson would lose a fight to earn some more money? He's already getting $20 million for the fight. Does he want to do this for another $5 million or 20 million? Or how much more money would he need to get paid to actually lose the...
Here's where things get tricky. Olympic medalist Tony Jeffries quickly pointed out that Tyson doesn't need the cash. With a successful cannabis business, endorsements, and royalties flowing in, he's not struggling financially. This raises doubts for many analysts about the idea that Tyson intentionally threw the fight. After all, why risk tarnishing a legendary legacy for money he doesn't even need?
Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because that everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him.
Dana White has been one of the loudest critics of this new era in boxing, viewing these fights as little more than carnival attractions. He's not alone. Hardcore boxing fans and traditionalists see these events as an affront to the sport's rich history and legacy.
That he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying him.
And what about Jake Paul? While his exact earnings aren't public, estimates place his haul in the $10-15 million range, factoring in his cut of pay-per-view sales. Not bad for someone who started out filming pranks on YouTube. But for Paul, money is just part of the equation. The real payoff was the boost to his brand. Beating Mike Tyson is a headline that practically sells itself, no matter that Tyson is nearly 3 decades older. For Paul, it's all about the optics. Let's face it, Jake is a master at crafting a narrative that keeps people talking and, most importantly, paying.